Hello. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. So we're talking about things you can do for, I think, going to sleep, but also I think it's things you can do in bed and when you get up in the morning and before going to bed. So does anybody have any issues with sleeping specifically and things that they've tried that you could share? Like what kinds of things? Go ahead, Sue. You're on mute though. There you go. Good.
Well, I wake up like 3 times every night minimum, and I'm not sure what what's causing it. I've tried lots of different, you know, therapies. I think it's my nervous system being buzzed at night, but like today I woke up and I slept okay, but I also have a backache today. So I don't know what posture. I think when I'm asleep for spurts, I'm in a deep sleep. I've always been that way, so I'm not sure I'm lined up very good when I'm sleeping.
Mm. Okay, so when you say you wake up 3 times a night, do you feel like something wakes you up? Is like there a physical aspect to it, or do you just wake up?
Both. I all of a sudden I'm awake and I'm like, oh no. And I've kind of trained myself not to get, not to get alarmed about it, breathe. And I have some apps that help me go back to sleep. But then 2 hours later or 3 hours later, I might wake up. But it could be my shoulders have been frozen. So it could be pain that's low level and I don't experience it.
Hmm.
More likely it's my, you know, brain chemicals being a little bit offline or something. But it gets annoying after a while.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That was a good description. Anybody else? Things you're trying, things you've tried, or what you experience?
I've tried everything available. I have the Bach Flower Rescue Remedy Sleep in both the tincture and the spray. And I spray now my bottoms of my feet with magnesium oil. And I still wake up. I think it's a cortisol spike. And then maybe the room is too hot. I can't stand the sound of the air conditioner kicking on. So, I just deal. I just take a nap the next day.
Hmm. And how do you feel when you wake up in the morning?
Tired.
Hmm. Anything with your physical body that feels agitated muscularly when you're in bed?
Uh, Sometimes maybe a knee will show up, but if I do my mat work, some breathing and stretching and lengthening, I seem to be able to get through the day.
And do you do that at night before you go to bed or when you get up in the morning?
I'm more consistent in the morning,
Okay.
morning exercise person.
Okay.
Like at night, it's been hot all day here in Florida. I don't want to drink hot tea. I don't need any more heat. I'm trying to cool it down.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else? Things you do? Maybe you have some. So it's interesting. People have lots of different things they do to go to sleep at night. I mean, for me, every night I do something before I go to sleep, and I have pretty much just because this is what I've done my whole life. I go and I notice when I don't do it, I wake up like stiff in the morning, so it works both for going to sleep, but also so that it prevents getting up and being stiff. And I just wouldn't go to bed without doing it. So I think again, sometimes we get in bed and we haven't lowered that excess tension in the body that is working with the mind, right? They're sort of all synonymous. and with your breathing. They're all happening together. So when we do the work at night before we get into bed, that's a great way to kind of get things, kind of anything that might play out a few hours later that wakes you up, right? Um, and so I think we should definitely, does anybody do anything before they go to bed? Like as far as, or is that just like not a really good time?
I I've been doing a lot more tapping lately on acupressure points.
Hmm.
And I can tell it's shifting my stress level during the daytime. And then
Hmm.
um I've been trying to regulate my breathing for a long time, but my brain keeps interfering. So lately I've been doing more, the like the Darth Vader exhale, the that sound, and doing that. And that seems to help a little bit,
Hmm.
but I'm not as much as I've struggled to do it. I have a ring that measures my respiration and it's barely moved. So I know it's connected to tension, stress, vagus nerve, all that kind of stuff. But I haven't been doing more of it at night
Hmm. Hmm.
because I've been working on different parts of my body, started with my neck and all this kind of stuff. And I remember one of my therapists said, well, whatever body you go to bed with at night is not going to just miraculously change. So if you go to bed with your stiffest body possible, you know, it's better to do something before you go to bed. So,
Yeah, and I think it's good to do something well, do
yeah,
something well. I think we have a lot of sense of our physical body as being sort of this thing, and we sort of do things to it, like we'll spray this or we'll do, hot something or other, or, have like a mantra in our head. And, there's all that, and I mean, and some of that stuff, it, some of that stuff works. And we're going to go over something a little different today. Um, I think a lot of times people are sort of doing things to their body rather than experiencing their body. It'll just go a whole lot deeper if you make that distinction,
yeah.
rather than doing something to make your body go to sleep rather than feeling your physical body. So see if you can make that distinction as we go through the rest of our time together, that you're not trying to work at this. People don't feel their physical body. They do things to their physical body to make it better. We exercise to make our physical body better. We stretch to make our physical body better. We have breathing exercises we do. We take certain foods that are going to make our body better, but very few of us really experience the physical body, right? We just don't have a sensory experience of it. It's kind of like, just because I have a Steinway grand piano in my living room doesn't mean I can play it, right? You're going to have to learn certain things about a piano to play it, whether it's a Steinway or not. And you all have Steinway pianos with your body. But if you don't really connect to the feeling of it, I can get a grand piano. I can get, one that Elton John owned. I can do whatever. It's not going to make me connect more to being able to play the instrument. So I have to understand the piano. There's certain factors of the physical body that would be helpful to you to be able to sit your body to do what it needs to do, right? Before you go to bed, when you're in bed, and certainly when you wake up. And I think connecting a little bit more to it, just from the few people I've heard, would be to understand, certain aspects of how your body works. And doing breathing exercises, doing things to your body is different than actually, understanding the physical feeling of your body. So does anybody have any questions or comments before we move into a different phase of this, or something else you want to share or you want to address? Let me know. So I'll incorporate it in what we're going to do today. Anything about your sleeping that you think, this bothers me, or, this, I don't know what you're talking about with connecting with the physical body. So, because that language you use when you get in bed is important. Oh, somebody told me to do breathing. That's different than feeling how your body breathes. Oh, I want to relax my mind. Oh, there goes my mind again. Because you can't really stop your thoughts. We all know that, right? And sometimes your physical body can help your thoughts by clearly connecting more to that physical body, right? It will also help you move a little bit easier in life as well, so that you, again, you know how to play the instrument. So whatever you do with this body, and sleeping is one of those, you will be more connected to it so that it will, be able to experience what you want it to do. So we're in like this little partnership with your body. So let's start lying down. I see some of you are already lying down and have the balls. And if you want me to be able to address anything I see, then you can put yourself on video. You can angle the camera so that I can see you, just in case, I could be helpful in some way. And just rest yourselves on the floor. Now, I wouldn't go to bed without doing this. Something along this line before going into bed. So it doesn't matter exactly where the ball is, right? You might have a favorite spot, but it's really what you're asking of yourself when you lie down on the floor. All right, and so let's start with one ball under your head and neck. All right, this is a great way to start. You can do this lying in bed. You could do this on the floor before you go to bed. So again, if you go, I don't want to get on the floor, totally get that. You could just do it in bed. All right, so I would start with the weight of your head on a ball, but I wouldn't really, especially at night, I wouldn't really have a lot of what I need to do right now kind of thing, right? And sometimes that's a really nice way to kind of connect with what I was saying about that grand piano is you don't need to change the grand piano. It's a grand piano. It's, you know, they're pretty amazing instruments, right? You don't need to change your body right now, but the physical body you need to feel. Now, how you feel it is not because you're doing something, it's because we have gravity. So, again, this is being recorded. Hopefully, you will play it over again and understand the reason you have feeling. All right, and I'm going to probably say that 10 times, is because your body has weight to it. And the weight is only felt because of gravity, right? So when you're on the ball, and what causes agitation in most people's muscles, okay? So remember this sort of three-pronged connection. The agitation in your muscles when you get in bed at night is affecting your breathing and is affecting those thoughts that are going all around and, doing all kinds of stuff. But it's a circle. Those thoughts are then setting off the agitation in the muscles, which in turn is setting off some breathing patterns. And these things could be kind of lifelong kind of ways that happen in a millisecond. So a lot of times we just ignore what we're doing to contribute to them and just do what somebody told us to do, which here I am, that person telling you to do something. But I hope that you'll do what they told me to do when I first learned the piano, which was just listen. They knew that I was going to um, enjoy the piano because I just loved the sound. Okay, so what's the feeling of the weight of your head on the ball? And then we're just going to add to it another hugely tight area on most people's bodies is the jaw. So you're going to add the open mouth breathing. You're not going to try. In fact, when I do this, a lot of times I don't really work that hard. I don't want you to be limp, but I want you to feel it's not necessary to really do it as this like, oh God, I'm going to do my calisthenics now. Just open your mouth and let an exhalation out, but allow your mouth to get a little bit heavier as you open it. And if you want to stream the sound out a little bit, elongate it, that's fine. But sometimes in our desire to get things done, we figure if it's not really full throttle, then we're not really going to get changes. And it's actually before you go to bed, during bed, and a lot of things during the day, that's actually a lot of times cuts off your breathing by thrusting it out. Here's my exhalation. So when you open your mouth, you're still feeling the weight of your head and you're still letting your mouth open, right? That's not always easy. Don't take for granted that, oh, yeah, I feel the weight of my head. Most adults will never feel the full weight of their head because of how tight our neck and shoulder is. But that doesn't matter. It'll definitely loosen up and really start to connect. So you're feeling the weight of your head. So you should write down in your brain those two words, or you have the recording, that weight. And that weight, as you sense the whole body, is going to start to take an impact. So that's why I'm taking the time to talk to you about it. Open your mouth, let the weight of your mouth do the opening, right? So the weight of your jaw is going to stretch the hinge, not because you're jamming the jaw open really fast. You're feeling that weight. It will open the mouth a little heavier each time so that you get a little bit more and more of a stretch. And then you will exhale and sustain a little bit of a slow exhalation with the feeling of the weight of the head and neck on the ball and the open mouth. And then just when you close your mouth, notice if your body is responding. Okay, so that's the difference between you doing something before you go to bed and how your body is responding, right? You know what I'm saying? It's two completely different things. I don't touch the keys on a piano and think, oh, I'm creating the piano, right? No, I'm hearing what it does. You're feeling the weight on the ball and you're feeling, how does that change anything? And every once in a while, you could let your head, now again, whenever you move a physical body and you start getting a little bit better at this over time, there's certain properties of a body, just like there's certain aspects to anything, like a piano, like cooking a meal, right? There's certain ingredients you're working with. When you move your head, one major thing about bodies is that they connect to more parts. Now, when I first lie down on the floor and I turn my head, if I've had a very stressful day and I notice my back is several inches off the floor and my jaw's not opening that easily, I don't keep moving it. I don't keep going, let me just yank my head right to left. What I start doing is sort of noticing, you know, maybe I could let my head rest a little bit more. And that's what I'm asking you to do now, right? So we don't we don't bang on the instrument or what until we feel it. Then you could do whatever you want with the instrument. But the feeling of it, especially at night after a day, you want to feel how things connect. So one of the main things with the body when you lie down, and it doesn't matter if you're doing this in bed, there's still a physical feeling to the body that most humans are trying to do something with when they get in bed. They're not just feeling. And you are breathing, whether you do breathing exercises or not, you're breathing, especially at night. Get in touch with that feeling. Those are just properties of the instrument. But if you don't feel that, your body's not going to, it's going to be like doing what it's doing all day. It's still going to hold on no matter how much things you ingest or how much you do. And oh, I got a massage before I went to bed or whatever. Your body's going to go back to what it knows how to do. That's why you want to experience something different. All right. So now, with that said, you're going to reach back, support the back of your head with one hand, quickly remove the ball with the other hand, and you're just going to feel the physical body, which is huge, right? So you feel that weight and you sense, did it change your breathing at all? Do you notice this in any other part of your body? And if you say, no, I really didn't notice this in any other part of your body, what does that tell you? Anybody have an answer to that? What if you, and so some of you must be saying, I don't feel anything. Does anybody not feel anything? What's that?
I'm annoyed at my phone ringing right in the middle of your chat. Sorry. I felt a little bit of release being on the ball.
All right, so we're going to take one ball and put it under the crook of one elbow. So you're going to make a right angle with your arm. So again, ladies and gentlemen, it is not, right? You do not become a great chef or a great artist, sports person, a person who lives in a body by just, oh, I've got a piano in my living room. I've got a body. It's the experience of how you do it. It's not the ball that's doing it. It's the basic properties of your body. You are breathing, whether you make yourself breathe or not. If you lie down and you go, oh, I don't notice my breathing, that tells you that you're probably holding your breath, right? If you don't feel different parts of your body come down, you don't need to relax your body. You need to ask your body to sense that weight. The ball is under your elbow now, so you're making that right angle. Just the basic change of that shift of where your forearm is did something to the physical body. Now, some of you are going to feel more than others because you're more familiar with the instrument, but I want you to get even more familiar with the instrument, right? In the sense of, is there, maybe there's more to the connectedness of the rest of your body. Maybe some of you need to bend your knees and rest your feet on the floor from time to time. You could do that in bed. Does that shift the weight? So remember, the hand is going back in the direction of the floor. It's not holding up towards the ceiling. So it's almost like you're waving goodbye to somebody from a ship. It's a right angle like that. Your knuckles are going to go down in the direction of the floor. And so you can go on and off the ball. Let's take the ball away. And what is the ball good for? Is so now when you take the ball away to sense the weight and any chain reaction that may be connected to other parts of your body. That is a property that the human body does naturally. Most adults do not do this because they don't know how to play the instrument. They're still holding on. They don't know they're holding on. That's why there's a class, right? I didn't know either, right? So you're resting there now. You're noticing, is there any difference? And this is, if you have a question, formulating the question tells you stuff. You're not going to hurt my feelings. Other things will hurt my feelings if you don't like me. But if you don't like what I do, that's not going to hurt my feelings. All right. So take the ball, put it under your elbow again. We're going to keep doing this until, maybe something happens. So the forearm goes back. Make sure the ball is under the elbow or a little more of the upper arm if that's easier. And do you feel any rotation in the shoulder? And do you feel it in your side body at all? Does it change anything about the way your head or neck rests? Anybody holding their breath? So if you sit down and you're making a meal and you don't notice anything about what you're doing, it's sort of, you're throwing dots at spaghetti at a wall. You don't know what's going to happen. Maybe something sticks. But with your physical body, you want to feel it. Do I feel anything in other parts of my body? This is a big arm. Do you feel it in your back? If you say, I'm not really breathing, go ahead, open your mouth and make the exhalation again. Maybe activate that part of your body, right? Because holding the breath, right, is sometimes locked up with the way you're holding your body on the floor, right? So you can do this with your knees bent, your feet on the floor, or you could do it with your legs stretched out and go on and off the ball on your own time. Anytime you take the ball away, unbend at your elbow, rest your arm, and sense, does that arm and shoulder begin to rest any different? And is there any change in any other parts of your body? So you're looking for not whether or not, release is a weird word because it's kind of a sort of a mental word. Released. I don't really know what that means physically. I mean, maybe you put it together with a physical experience with the body. I don't know. I'm not sure. But if something released, then I would say, oh, maybe my back is touching the floor more. I feel more weight in my arm or shoulder, or I notice the back of my legs are resting a little different towards the floor. Maybe I feel more of my breathing in my ribs, maybe the back of my ribs. Just keep it in the physical realm with your body so that it really becomes something that is using your instrument and the way it's functioning, rather whether or not it feels good or not. It's just kind of a waste of time. It's going to feel good if you feel the weight and you're breathing, but don't waste your time with that kind of a response. All right, so let's take the ball away from under your elbows now. Stretch your arms out to the side. Feel that weight of the side, the right arm and shoulder. If you want to stretch your legs out, fine. And just go ahead, soften your jaw, make that exhalation again, move the air out, and just kind of notice anything about the air moving in and out of your body. So we know the air is moving in and out of the body. I would just like to feel kind of where it is, right? Because it's happening. Maybe you add a little bit of the jaw and you move the air out a little bit, whatever, with your exhalation, right? So you can rest, one hand on your lower rib cage, right around your diaphragmatic muscle, and the other hand on your upper chest. Lots of times I'll wake up in the morning and just put my hands there, and I'll just kind of notice things like rest your elbows on the floor. Don't make it like a really big effort to just rest your hands there. And just as you notice you're breathing, again, don't try to breathe. You are breathing. And there's a funny thing that happens when you let yourself breathe. Sometimes that actually gives you more responses than all the other things you can do. And when you start just noticing your breathing, sometimes I don't, I wake up and, I was just sleeping. So, sometimes I wake up, it's not like, oh, wow, my breathing is that deep. So when you notice your inhalation, do you feel it first underneath your bottom hand or the top hand? And when you exhale, do you notice the top hand first or the bottom hand, or both at the same time? You're pulling the air in, right? It's just, again, that's a natural reflex action like blinking. Your diaphragmatic muscle is going to pull the air in. And so, under what hand do you feel that expanse as that diaphragmatic muscle works? And so that's pulling the breath in. Does it start to go up to the top hand? Do you feel the air going anywhere? Does it stay in the bottom? So the bottom hand is where your diaphragmatic muscle is, right? So that's the pump. So when you make an exhalation, and you can soften your jaw now, feel the weight of your mouth open. So again, there's that weight thing again. It's not an imaginary weight thing, right? It's a real feeling of the weight of your jaw. Oh, if I push it and really expand it or whatever, you have weight. You don't really need to push it that hard right now, right? But you can sustain that exhalation a little slower, a little longer, and you might feel muscles under the bottom hand kind of sink. Because that's the diaphragmatic muscle. When you exhale, it's kind of pushing up towards the top half of your body. And then when it starts to, right, automatic reflex action, pull the breath back in, it starts to push down towards your pelvis, and it takes up some space in your belly. And that's why your belly might push up a little bit. But if it's pulling air in, do you feel any air in the behind your top hand? Do you let it go up into your shoulders or your side body? Where do you let the air go? Because sometimes people just don't know how to play the instrument, so they don't allow their body to function. All right. They think they have to tell it what to do, but really you have to begin like a small child to begin to listen to it a little bit, and it might not even make any sense, right? But they're so cute when they talk. And so it's so interesting. Oh, this little breathing thing. What's that? Oh, that's interesting. So let's take your arms away, bend your knees, rest your feet on the floor if they're not. And let's place the ball one more time under that first elbow. And maybe you could feel the weight of your arms, and sense, has anything changed in how your body touches the floor? So that tells you something about weight, right? Things that are starting to spread out on the floor, right, are changing the shape of your body a little bit. And maybe the air is moving into some different parts, right? And so if you don't kind of acknowledge only these two aspects of the physical body, right? What it can do and what it is doing, right? What is it doing right now? Are parts of you being held off the floor? So feel your right and left hip and just kind of get a sense of that width between the feeling of the right hip and the left hip. Are they resting on the floor? Curled up off the floor? So there's always those just two dynamics. And sometimes, we take for granted, like, oh yeah, those hips are, I'm not really clenching them or whatever, or I'm not really holding that. But usually we have the same shape we've been holding all day long when we're lying down. So from time to time, you might want to take the right hip, press it down into the floor a little bit, take the left hip, press it down into the floor, and almost get in your brain that little, sort of tape measure out and just get a sense of the distance from your right hip to your left hip. Just that sense that there are two of them, right? They're not really just squeezing into a little ball. Maybe there's some width there, some sides. And then go ahead, take the ball away from underneath your elbow now and just stretch your arms out and just feel your right and left shoulders. So that's what you would be doing when you lay down on the floor, is noticing the difference as you go on and off the ball to sense, are you still holding your breath? Are you still holding your body in the same shape? And how can you tell? You can tell because the floor or whatever's under you is going to feel different. You're going to rest against it differently. So take that same ball, you can use one or two balls, and put either one ball in the middle back of your pelvis or one under each hip. All right, so take the ball away from underneath your elbow and place a ball under each hip. One hip or just one ball under your pelvis. You could do it either way, it doesn't matter. What matters is what I notice when you go up on the balls is one of the best thing to notice, and I'm saying the same things over and over again, which is really helpful, I hope. I mean, I love repetition, is to remind yourself now the balls are under your hips. There's parts of your body that you let shift, right? Laws of physics. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Or what most people do when they move their body is they isolate it. They don't feel the weight of that pelvis shift. And when you don't feel the weight doesn't shift. So what went down? Did your lower back sink down? Did the back of your rib cage sink? Did your neck lengthen out? Did you hold your breath? So how we respond in the body at night is just a really kind of an interesting thing to get familiar with some very different directions. You're feeling the weight on the balls now, but that's allowing your body then to respond to the weight of your pelvis being up, right? So between your shoulders, you can take your right shoulder and press it a little bit down to the floor every once in a while now. Just press it down, then let it go. Right? The arms are out to the side. You can press the left shoulder down to the floor, and just go back and forth. So there's certain like parameters, things with a body that we just need to know. Otherwise, it's all jumbled up in a ball and you would never cook that way. You would never just take ingredients. I don't know what they taste like, but I'm just going to throw them all in. You wouldn't play an instrument and just go, I don't care where those notes are. I'm just going to hit the keys. You can't do that with your physical body. And I'm not telling you what to do. I'm asking you to just feel different things. Like I don't have to learn how to play Chopin, but there's certain things when you touch keys or when you put food together, you learn, you go, oh yeah, I like the way that tastes. So you can't have a sense that it doesn't have certain aspects of it. You press the right shoulder down, let it go, the left shoulder, and you can kind of feel the right and left hips. You have these kind of four corners. And in the middle between those four corners, you have this amazing thoracic area where you had your hands every once in a while just kind of lift it up between your hips and shoulders, arch your back muscles a little bit, and then let it sink back down. Yeah, I didn't ask you to move your arms. Those are good things to observe what you do. Yeah, didn't ask you to lift your pelvis because it's a real big part of movement that when you move one part, other parts get to go down. And then the lifting up is such a deeper stretch. But most adults, when they start moving, they start tightening everything. Oh, she wants me to move. Let's tighten everything. And then, oh, I'm going to let go now. And that's the way most of us look at the, oh, we need to breathe. Let me start breathing deeply. So the aspect of knowing your instrument, especially at night when you don't feel like really doing like maybe a lot of, big stuff, is to just feel it out. Does the rib cage start to sink? And if it doesn't, maybe make a little exhalation again, or I would hang out there longer. Because eventually gravity is going to win. And it would be better for you at night to do that and just keep feeling, does the weight shift? And if you do find that you are a breath holder, and how do you know you're holding your breath? Because you won't feel your breathing. I wish what I was saying was much more deep and complicated. But some of you want to keep encouraging yourself to kind of be more open to feeling these shifts of weight. Now bring your feet up off the floor and let your thighs fold in and notice, how does the weight shift? What does your body do? Remember, it's an instrument. It's going to shift weight. And sometimes we don't let that happen. Sometimes we go, beautiful. We go back in. Yes, some of you are really allowing yourself to feel more parts of your body. Let the legs kind of fold. Yeah. See what the body will do, what the instrument will do, rather than what you think you should do to fix this right now. Yeah. So getting fancy is not, sometimes getting fancy is sort of distracting. If you have a question, let me know. We're going to feel the weight for a little bit. So if you have a question, we have time. Because this is not a time to feel like you're just waiting for a bus. This is a time for you to let the physical body function. That's a massive joint. And those muscles thread through significant tight areas of the human anatomy. And again, that's just the way it is. So by feeling where the ball is resting there and your legs folding into you, now if you don't give it a chance to feel the weight shift and you're holding a position, then you're absolutely right. You won't feel that. And so that's why if you have a question, you should ask. All right, when you're ready, some of you just really do beautifully have that feeling of the weight on the ball, and some of you are actually sensing other parts of your body, which will be really, really helpful when we now let the thighs move apart. Something every day. Yeah. There's absolutely no reason to have to hold your breath. I'm not asking you to breathe. It just would be very curious to wonder why we would stop breathing. Those are habits. Or why you would have to hold on. All right, so you could make your S sound, or you could kind of notice that feeling of your legs getting a little deeper stretch as you do it. Yep. And then, so now you're starting to feel your legs a little bit. Some of you are, again, so staying there a little bit longer is great. And then slowly, because that will help you to feel the weight transfer into some deeper parts of the body. Feel the weight of your thighs coming back together. So it's not just the knees pulling together, it's the feeling of maybe right up to the hip itself. right? Maybe feel the lower back, what happens there. Do your hips, remember the right and left hips? Are they lengthening away from the shoulders, pulling up to the armpit? What does your body do, right? So if you're a kid and you're learning how to move the body, you try things, right? That's it. And then when you're ready, rest your feet on the floor, roll your pelvis to the side, quickly take the ball or balls away. And so what are you looking, what are your cues? What are what are some of the tools you have in your toolbox, as they say, to sort of ask yourself, kind of, has anything changed when you stretch your legs out again? Is the weight of your body changed or the feeling of your breathing changed? Does your breathing move into different parts of your body? Is the back of your body touching the floor more? Let's put the ball under the second elbow. So sort of think of your body in a way, I don't want you to pretend to be a jigsaw puzzle, but it's just sort of a, metaphor for, what bodies are like. There's a whole lot of pieces in a jigsaw puzzle. And, we do those because we love the feeling when it starts. Oh, I can see the house and the trees, and oh, look at that building, or whatever the jigsaw puzzle is. And as you start to feel more parts of the body, and that's the beauty of what you're doing. When you're doing this at night, only because of the connection to not holding the habit, right? Not fighting gravity, your body will begin to unravel a bit in places where you begin to feel clarity in the puzzle pieces. All of a sudden you realize, oh, that is a whole hip. Oh, I didn't realize when I put the ball under the second elbow, I actually maybe can feel the other side of my body too, or maybe the back of my rib cage. And if you don't feel that, you have to question a little bit whether or not you're holding your breath, right? So when you're doing this on your own, you want to sort of notice how you're doing it. In that middle of the body. I mean, I could be wrong. It is Zoom. It does give you a pretty good picture, but it looks like a lot of the back, the rib cage, is not resting on the floor. You could raise your hand. Does anybody feel that? Like a lot of the back of the rib cage is off the floor? Yeah, that's a big deal when it comes to part. That's sort of leaving out a large section of the instrument. I would be so curious about that. Every night I lie down and that area is like, I got to hang out and just kind of talk to it a bit, like give it time, just like what we're doing, because you're actually holding it up, okay? Right? You're holding it up. That's part of your whole shape that you make in space. Most people stick their lower bellies forward when they walk, throw their shoulders back, clench their glutes, right? Shortens the spine. So while we go around to these four corners, the hips and shoulders, your back muscles will start coming down. And that's what you start noticing. And you're bringing your attention to different parts, just like when I do a jigsaw puzzle. I don't know, there's 5,000 pieces that all have different shades of red. And you just keep going and you start, oh, wow. you don't know what you're going for. You just start knowing that there's something there. There's something there in the middle of your body. All right, so let's take the ball underneath this elbow and roll over on to your right side. So let's say you're in bed, it's the middle of the night, and you wake up in the middle of the night. Okay, so if you have a pillow and you want a pillow under the side of your head, that's fine. But you're on your right side now, right? Side is very, very cool to be on because you're not on your back now. It's very revealing. So this is the small movement therapy that I love. And it's great. You could do it in bed. So what are the two things that are some things to remind yourself, the two things that are sort of your cues? Does anybody remember from when we started today? What are the two things to sort of guide yourself with? I know a lot of you are on mute. I know, Laura, you know, but you're on mute. Your knees are bent at a 90-degree angle, Laura. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's the weight. So when you do the small movement therapy, you do not have a ball. Okay. So you are using your own body weight. You're in bed. You're going to start with your top knee. So that would be your left knee. And you're only raising the left knee just enough to feel the weight of your leg and then let the leg gradually come back down. When it comes down, maybe it's got a little bit of time for it to, kind of land the plane, let it rest a little bit. Notice that feeling of the weight of the top leg. And then when you're ready, you're raising the leg from the feeling of the weight and then just the knee. Yeah. Yeah. There is no weight in that movement. Some of you are just popping the leg up 500 times. This is not an exercise class. Make a distinction in your brain, especially for going to sleep. And especially for trying to change the circulation into your muscles, the distinction between exercise and what we're doing. It's completely different directions. You're learning to allow the weight of your body, which right now, by using the tip of your knee and letting the weight of the leg get a little heavier each time when it comes down, with the experience of how this might connect to other parts of your body and to the feeling of your breathing. All right. Nothing wrong with exercise. I exercise all the time. And the reason to do this, especially if you exercise all the time, is so that you have more of a connection with your instrument so you can actually play the Steinway when you go to exercise. Oh, I know where that leg is. Oh, I know where that hip. Oh, I don't need to hold my breath. Oh, yeah, there's my shoulders. So you're feeling the leg. Not an emotional feeling. Do I like doing this? Your body doesn't care if you like it or not. All right. What it cares about is if you actually feel it, just like a small child. It wants to be liked, but it wants to be heard. All right, so there's the weight of your leg. I would spend a little bit of time with that. Anybody feel it starts cramping up in their hip when they do that? Because if we did it longer, we could, you could do it while we continue to talk. But again, some of you, you don't need to go quite that high, Barbara. It's a really good movement. Most of your changes, everyone in this class right now, most of your changes are going to happen when you let the leg down. Because what will happen is the weight of that massive leg will get the message to the brain to start clenching, stop clenching your hips. When you stop clenching, you'll get more circulation. So yeah, you're not lifting your foot. That is not what we're doing.
So the feet stay together and we're just opening the knee, lifting up the knee, but the feet stay together.
Yes, and you're feeling the weight of your leg. So those are the directions. Laura clarified the directions. But some of you, again, the Steinway is not going to play, is not going to play the piano. Your body has to get directions. You're not feeling the weight, and that's what you're going to practice when you do this. And if you don't feel responses, it's because you're doing an exercise. You're doing it with the same habits that you started with. Hey, look, that's the way I did it too. All right, so when you're ready, just again, I would spend, sometimes it just takes a few times doing that in bed, especially when you get good at it and you'll start drifting off. Just roll on your back and just notice if your left leg rests any different on the floor than your right leg. So here's all your body weight. Notice how you didn't have to create body weight, right? Isn't that kind of a gift? And then does the left leg rest any different than the right leg? And is there any change in how you touch the floor or the feeling of your breathing? So remember the weight and the breath. All right, bend your knees, rest your feet on the floor. Anybody feel a connection with their legs into any other parts of your body? Yeah. All right, roll over onto your left side. So you have to understand when you deal with bodies, you could start with the tip of your right knee. You do not have to take it high. It doesn't matter whether or not you come up off the floor a fraction of an inch or 2 feet. Once you lose the floor, or in this case, you take the knee a little up, the weight is going to shift in the body. Do you feel the weight shift in the body at all? Or any change in your breathing? So you start noticing, yeah, and you don't need to hold the leg up there. The leg is only up there long enough to come down. So you can feel the weight of it. And yes, I know this isn't as easy as, well, actually, it's much easier than we realize. Some of us, again, it's unfamiliar. And that's the thing with the Steinway analogy or any analogy. I'm not a good cook, so I understand like there's a certain thing with cooking, right? You have to know taste. I don't know that whole thing. So that's always been a struggle for me, right? When it comes to bodies, you got to know something. You got to know basic things. What you guys do, like most of us do, is you want to just move your physical body. I just want to hit the keys of the piano. But there's certain things you have to feel. Weight is one of them, and it's really easy. But you can't bypass it by, oh, I'm just going to jerk my leg up 30 times like I do in Pilates. Okay, that might be something that you want to do. But if you want your bodies to turn off at night, so they could really feel that sense of the circulation moving through them. Maybe the breathing starts getting a little deeper. You have to let it function at night. And so as you start allowing these parts to come down, every time you let your leg down, really let it down. Let it rest. That's what bodies don't know. Oh, that leg got heavier. And maybe you have to do, that's good, very good. That's maybe you have to do less of a movement. Like I said, whether you go up a fraction of an inch or 2 feet, you're still going to feel the weight. And sometimes less is more because you start to kind of get a sense of paying attention to other things rather than just how big you could do the movement. Once you feel connections, it's not so hard to do bigger movements. But when you try to do bigger movements and you're holding your breath and clenching your muscles, right? And you could always take the upper body anytime you want. If you want to open up the right arm and just look at the ceiling with your head, let the upper body twist back. But again, what are you doing? You don't need to stiffen as much as you are. Feel the weight of your upper chest. Get a sense, do you hold your breath when you move? Because nothing is going to feel good when you hold your breath. Do you feel that weight of the middle of the body? The opposition, right? So that top knee, that right leg, has everything to do with what the right arm is doing and what the rib cage is doing. It's just kind of knowing how things kind of play with opposition, right? So you don't have to create the body. You're not going to create the body. The body breathes and the body moves as weight in space. Whether you're doing an exercise class, running, jumping, singing, dancing, it's a weight in space. And that weight is a beautiful feeling. So roll forward now onto your hands and knees and just go into, you could go into child's pose, but do it with that same sense like you are a child, right? And be curious. Try not to create the instrument. It's already there. And it has a lot of feeling. Beautiful. That's very nice. And just notice, what you let down, what you don't let down. Are you clenching yourself in a little ball? Or maybe you could say, wow, maybe that doesn't feel so good. Maybe that's what's making me hold my breath. Or maybe you can let your head rest on the floor, something that feels good to you. By allowing these different parts, yes, you do have to feel the parts, right? Because sometimes we move things and they're not really what we intend to move. All right, so whatever you wanted to sit on, whether it was the bench if you have a chair or the floor, just go back to kind of sitting. Now, every morning I get up, I sit. Okay, well, that's me. I like sitting because, again, it gives me so much like opportunity to just start waking up, right? I don't have to make myself sit a certain way. So right now, just feel your physical body. How does it sit? Yeah, beautiful. Great. Because sometimes the forcing doesn't really help too much, right? And so just go back, easy going to that open mouth breathing you did on the ball. Open your mouth, soften your jaw. Yeah, some of the distracting kind of throwing things in different places is not, it's like a kid banging on a piano. Easy with that. Exhale on an open mouth, extend the exhalation. Just kind of feel, I know it's not easy to feel sitting, right? But it's so revealing. You could press each sits bone down into the floor or the chair one at a time. You could extend that exhalation. Notice if you feel the air moving into any different parts of your body. And it's very strengthening because it's balance. Your body knows where balance is, right? So you can actually start working with this thing by using some information with some experience of the physicality. And then if you want to bend forward, which is just, again, do it from the feel. Beautiful. Wow. Right. Yeah. Do it from that feeling of just folding. That's excellent. Maybe you could feel the weight and notice your breathing. Yeah. See if you notice your breathing. Would you bend deeper if you allowed yourself to feel the weight a little bit more, right? And then when you come up, use that sense of the whole body, right? So you could come up, feel, yeah. So your body's always going to look for the sits bones, right? Because that's your center, that's the hub, that's the basement. Reach your hands up towards the ceiling, lengthen out. So bodies work as a whole. Does your head move up? What happens to your breathings? Stretch one arm up and the other. So you're always waffling between the habit. Oh, when I reach my arms up, my head goes down. Okay, that's great information. I hold my breath and tighten my shoulders. Okay, stop doing that, right? And then bring your arms down, right? But you don't have to drop your rib cage. Your ribs really like to have a voice. So do your sits bones, so does your head. But what's keeping you up right now? It's always interesting, like what's keeping you upright? Somewhere in your brain, your body remembers sitting as a small child. So the hardest thing for adults, right? Because we want to hold ourselves up, right? All right. Any questions before we stop? Comments?
Blaine?
Yeah. What's up? Well, you look like you're ready for bed.
I was going to wear my pajamas for class.
Okay, right. That would have been a nice touch.
Yeah.
That would have been a nice touch. Yeah. I think what I see all of the time is that it's the directions that people don't follow. They go, oh, yeah, I breathe. Yeah, I get this, I've been doing this a long time. Oh, yeah, I breathe. Well, then things would be resting on the floor differently. Then your movements, when I see movement, they would be different. Oh, yeah, I know that. Right, right. That's like what I say all the time until somebody explains to me, no, you kind of have to know how to do this. And I realize, oh, right, I can't just play the piano just because I like it. You can't just move your physical body because you want to, right? You can, and you did as a child, but then what happens is we grow up, and at a young age, we get lots and lots of habits. We move like Uncle so-and-so and Aunt so-and-so and the cheerleaders who were so cute, they like to throw their heads back when they walk, whatever crap you were following, right? Maybe you had a lot of stress, maybe you had illness, maybe you had injuries, all of the above, whatever. You are living with that in your physical body. And so you want to work with the feeling of how your instrument will help you, right? But if you don't feel the instrument, which is, again, the directions, so just lay down at night and feel it. Use the recording to get a sense of how to give yourself the directions. Because a lot of you got an idea that you got a lot to do. You have a lot to undo. And that comes from sometimes laying there and feeling, oh my God, I didn't know I was holding my breath like that. Because if you don't feel it, you're holding your breath, right? And oh, I didn't realize I was fighting to sit up in that really weird, creepy posture that I've always done. I'm just talking to myself. I have really weird, creepy posture from years of ballet. And I hate it. And I remember when I first started doing ballet and my dad pointed it out to me, and he was a heavy smoker, and he looked at me and he said, oh, you got educated. And I just hated that because I knew just what he said. I never lost that posture. Couldn't get rid of it, right? Because it was in my brain so strongly, right? But we're not perfect. But the beauty of feeling the physical body, I hope that helps in some way. You just have to keep doing it, until you discover you in your body and move that. It's not about relaxation. So if you're going to bed trying to relax, or if you're going to bed trying to breathe, or if you're trying to stretch your body out and it's still going, no, I don't do that. It's telling you for a reason, right? That's why it's telling you it doesn't do that. Not that it can't, but because you're not playing the instrument, you're fighting against the movements and you have to go a little deeper. That's what this will do. So then if you have a great teacher that's teaching you something else, or a great, somebody was just telling me about an opera singer who was doing this like amazing workshop with breath and this and that, you'll be able to really go, oh yeah, I feel that. You take your instrument with you. But that's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is feeling the weight on the ball, noticing if it transfers into different parts, and understanding how you might be falling into patterns that are preventing you from being able to let your breath into different parts so you could really feel your instrument can change and adapt. Remember, it will change. It'll either stay like this or it will change, and it's always changing. Even those of you who know what you're doing, it's always changing, and it's always got another layer, which is what makes it so fun. All right, well, I will let you go. You did a great job.
Thank you, Elaine. That was
Thank you.
And it's always great to see you guys.
Thank you.
All
good to see
right.
everybody.
Thanks so much.
Oh, somebody just sent a really cool, I never knew I could feel the weight of my body. I love that. I know. I remember this 73-year-old guy once when I was teaching like 30 years ago at a Y, and he said, I didn't know. I still remember Jim. He goes, I never knew I had a pelvis, right? I mean, you know what I mean? These are like some major parts. You don't even have to make it move. You just have to know it's there. Your body will tell you how to move it, right? That's what's different than an instrument. You play your own body based on feel. A Steinway's not going to play itself, but you can. That's why I'm here to remind you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so
Thank
great
you.
for coming. Thank you.
Thank you
Have
so
a
much.
Thanks
wonderful
again.
day.
You
Too.
too. Thank
Everybody.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.